All right, I believe we are live. I'll give it a couple of minutes here. And if you're watching the replay, make sure you post #replay. So today I'm going to be talking about using tarot cards for intuitive development. For those of you that are not familiar with who I am, if you are new to my channel, new to my page, welcome. My name is Wadjet. I am an intuitive wellness and development coach. I'm also a personal trainer. I am an energy healer and tarot reader. And today, greetings. I see you all coming in. Hey, Via. Hey, Michael. So today, some of the things that I do is I focus on aligning the mind, the body, and spirit through health, wellness, and spiritual practice. I help people develop their intuition and really align with their divine purpose. I also am a podcast host, and the name of my podcast is Fit Body, Fit Spirit. So be sure to check that out. Let me see. I think I have a banner here for that, to post that if you're not familiar with my podcast, Fit Body, Fit Spirit. And a new episode comes out every Thursday. So be sure to check for that on all of your podcast platforms. And yeah, you can also, if you're interested, you might see the link here. I am going to be launching a tarot mentorship circle. So if you're interested in that, be sure to click the link in the description so you can sign up for the waiting list and get access to early bird pricing. And people are already coming in, and it's going to be great. Seats are limited, so be sure to join for the pre-launch so you can get early bird pricing. The pre-launch ends on the 21st of August, and then the official launch happens starting on the 22nd of August. So stay tuned for more updates. You can also head over to my website, ujowadjet.com. And where's that at? There's the banner for that, ujowadjet.com. And you can get all the scoop there. And you can also follow me on Instagram. I'm all over the place. I'm everywhere. Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, all of it. Hey, Aja, welcome. How are you? Hey, Anita. Hey, Sanicia. Is this a random video or it's on the schedule? So for the remainder of August, I will be going live every Thursday here on Facebook and on my YouTube page. So I will be doing that. Never mind, so many groups. I know, yeah. I know, there's so many groups, so many places. Yes, Anita, I saw your email and you will be getting a response. I've been swamped with emails, but you will be getting a response with the link. You begin that this evening or tomorrow morning at the latest. So welcome, everyone. So I would love to know, for those of you that are here live, if you have questions about tarot. I would love to know, do you use tarot? Are you familiar with it? Are you completely lost? Does tarot freak you out? And kind of where are you at with, what are your thoughts on tarot in general? I mentioned, actually, I shared some of my experience in a previous podcast episode that I did last week, which is practices for intuitive growth. So be sure to check that out, episode 13, I think. So, I get a lot of questions. I've been reading tarot for years, and now I'm at the point where, people have been wanting me to teach, which is why, years down the road, I finally decided to launch a mentorship circle, and get to that point. So, what I wanted to really do with this tarot series that I'll be doing for the next few weeks here is really talk about the areas where people get stuck with tarot, and then also answer any general questions and talk about just general topics around it, because I do tend to get a lot of questions. And one of the things when it comes to tarot, whether you want to be a reader, so you don't have to be a tarot reader to watch this video or to get benefits from this video. Maybe you're someone that is just, maybe you aspire to read cards, whether it's for yourself. And that's what I would always recommend, starting with reading for yourself. Or if you're interested in reading, eventually reading cards for other people, or you're not sure where you want to get with it. Or maybe you're interested in possibly getting a tarot reading one day. And you just want to learn more about what it is before you kind of dive into getting a reading. Maybe you have no interest in wanting to do it for yourself, but you want to get a reading one day. Or maybe you have, and you have gotten readings. Maybe you've got readings from me or from other people, and you just want to learn more about it in general. No matter where you're at on the spectrum, if you have questions, let me know. But there's something, when it comes to that intuitive development on the receiving end and on the giving end. And I've been on both sides. So even though I've been a reader for years, and a professional tarot reader, I still get readings from other people. I invest in the same community that I'm a part of, and I think that's important. So let's talk about what tarot is in the first place. A lot of times people think that, and I used to think, I was raised thinking that, tarot is like devil's cards and devil's work and stuff like that. Let me know if that's something that you, if that's something that you were told, or something that, you grew up believing, or whatever. There's all these myths and these misconceptions around tarot. But at the end of the day, it's just a deck of cards. So just like you have a deck of playing cards, and you can use playing cards as a form of reading. It's a form of cartomancy, which is really cool. I don't do cartomancy. I know people that do, but it's just a deck of cards. And what it does, I actually have a deck right here. Let me pull that. I have a couple decks here. Just a deck of cards. It's a system. So tarot is a system that is composed of 78 cards, and those cards are broken down into different, there's different sections of the cards. So you have the major arcana, the minor arcana. You also have the court cards, and you have the suits. So, and I won't go too in depth with the breakdown of the decks, because if that's something you're interested in, I can do a separate video that really breaks all that down. But I really go more into that in the mentorship circle, and go really in depth with that. But you can find a lot of information online about that when it comes to the composition of the cards. But that's just generally what it is. And with that, with this system, you can use these cards to really gain insight on whatever your question is, whatever your situation is. And if you are on the receiving end of getting a tarot reading, and you're gaining that insight, then your question or your situation will determine what comes out in these cards, right? And then the reader is the one that interprets what that layout is. The reader interprets how those cards are laid out, and the reader is typically the one that determines how they're going to position the cards, if you're going to use a certain type of tarot spread, or if you're going to have jumper cards. That's all determined by the reader. So I always say, whenever I work with clients, I always say it's a co-creation, right? So you have two people working together, giving and receiving end, when it comes to, because it's all your energy, right? The person that's receiving the reading, your energy is determining the outcome of the cards, and the reader is the one that interprets how that shows up and how to articulate that to the person receiving the reading. So, hey, Jennifer. Anita says, I'm a beginner pulling cards just for myself. Awesome. I started with Oracle cards and I love that, then was ready to explore tarot. That is perfect, Anita. I did the same thing. I actually started with Oracle, and I'll be covering Oracle cards in the mentorship circle as well. So I look forward to that. But yeah, I think Oracle cards are a great way to start. And I think pulling for yourself is also a great way. And I talk about that. I talk about the benefits of that also in that podcast of practices for intuitive growth. So yeah, that's the perfect start. Hey, Michael. Aja, I've always wondered what or who does one tap into to get the messages, and can it be a bad energy? Yes, I was told it was evil. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, it's definitely depend. It really, a lot of that depends on the reader and the person, right? Because for me as a reader, um, every person I work with, it creates a different experience, right? And depending on the reader's abilities and how they communicate, and this is where the intuitive development part comes in, right? How they communicate is going to determine, what they're tapping into, who they're tapping into. Now, you don't even have to be very practical with it. You can really look at the cards very logically. So you don't even have to, when it comes to communicating with spirit and, and connecting with guides and things like that, you don't have to even have those abilities to be able to read tarot cards or use tarot cards. Just based off the system itself, it's a very logical system. And when you understand the system, you can use this in a very practical and logical way. So you don't even have to consider yourself to be someone that is intuitive or that is even tapped into your spiritual intuitive abilities. For me, it goes hand in hand. But I use tarot cards very practically and also intuitively. And one of the things that I will be focusing on in the tarot mentorship circle, which is called Tarot Table Talk. In that mentorship circle, a lot of what I'll be focusing on, I'll talk about some of the practical aspects, but really it's the intuitive aspect and how to really develop your intuitive connection, because that's where people tend to get stuck or feel a bit overwhelmed, because they try to focus too much on, it's almost like studying for finals or something. You want to, it's like, oh, well, yeah, I need to memorize all the definitions. And then you get too caught up in trying to memorize everything and not connecting with what is your spirit leading you to really say, and how is that showing up. So there's different levels to tarot, for sure. But you definitely don't need to be a believer in anything to use the cards when you understand just the general aspects of the system. And even just from the imagery, and I can show some cards here. Let's do a little, this is one of my favorite cards of this deck. This is the Morgan Greer. Like, look at this card. Ain't she beautiful? So one of my favorite cards of the Morgan Greer deck, okay? Just look at this card now and tell me what comes up for you. Just when you see this card, what is the mood of this card? What is the energy? What's the vibe? What are some key words that come up for you when you see this card? If you just focus on the imagery without even knowing the definition of this card, let me know in the comments. Even if you're watching the replay, post in the comments and let me know. What is this card saying to you? What do you see? What sticks out? And it's so interesting that this card came out. What is she doing? And this is actually the Nine of Pentacles. So We have Goddess, Wisdom, Prince, Fertility and Abundance, Calm, Empress, Royal. I love that. I love that. So you can get certain things when you're just looking at the imagery, and that can tell you a lot about what's coming up in the cards. But then also when you have multiple cards, then it starts to tell a story, and you start to really get, so just like we had the mood of this one particular card, now you start to look at how these cards interact in relation to the question or the situation. So whether you're a reader or if you're on, or if you're the recipient of the reading, you can start to see a connection. So yeah, I think, when it comes to receiving the messages, use all of the senses, from just the visual aspect. Also, you can use the logical aspect, but then also it's like, okay, well, this is what this card means. This is the textbook version of this, but it feels like this is something more, or it's saying something else. And that's how you start to build a connection that's how it starts to move into the intuitive part, where you start to bridge these things together. So you were told it was evil. It was a very taboo topic in my family. Yes, child, you can't be having no cards up in not in my Christian house. Not in my mama's house, honey. No. Hey, Buddha. I wanted to know the rules of the cards. Oh, that's something, when it comes to the rules, it really, so you have, so when you say rules, it's like, do you mean like the definitions, or like when it comes to spreads? I would love a little bit more clarification on what you mean by rules, Via. Because the thing is, at least for me, the rule is, at least my rule is to follow your intuition, and have a general understanding of the characteristic of a deck, but then also follow your intuition, and don't only depend on the textbook definition of the cards. And for those, if you're wondering, if you don't have a deck and you're maybe interested in that, you can, usually decks come, at least tarot decks will come with the book. I don't think I have the books with this one. I have a couple of decks right here. Let me just look and see. I have decks all over the place. No, I don't. Yeah, I don't even carry the books with some of mine. Maybe in the next video next week, I'll show, like, it's like a little white book that most decks have, and they have like the keywords or definitions. You can also use, there's also apps you can use if you're not interested, or you don't feel ready to have an actual deck yet, but you want to, but you're curious about it. There's tarot apps, and I have them, and I think they're great. And you can use those to, one of them is Galaxy Tarot. Let me see if I can pull that up. Galaxy Tarot. Here's one that I would recommend. Can y'all see that? It looks like that. You can find that. And they have the different cards, and you can look at cards, the meanings and things like that, which is pretty cool. It's a great app if you want to learn. You can flip the card over, and it gives you like a definition, keywords. Can y'all see that? Hopefully. So that's Galaxy Tarot. That's a great resource. And there's tons of other tarot apps that you can use. Or if you don't want to invest in the app, some of them are free, some are paid, then you can find one online. And that can give you some of the general structure of the cards. Let me see what you're saying down here. How to spread and how to read yes or no. Okay, so yeah, there's different types of spreads. Every little like deck that you get, it comes with like general spreads. The most common type of spread is a 3-card spread. So I would recommend starting either with the 1-card pull or a 3-card spread. And with a 3-card spread, you can do a past, present, future. That's a pretty common one, and I would say start there. Past, present, future, 3-card spread. And yeah, if you want to know more about that and you know, and connecting more with, when it comes to yes or no readings, you know, I don't recommend using tarot for yes or no questions. Tarot is more complex than that. And a lot of times people just, you know, people want to use the cards, and I've done it too. It's like, okay, just tell me what to do. Tell me what to do. I don't want to think about it. And like, just give me a solid, clear thing. One of the ways you could use tarot for yes or no is pull, you know, you ask the question, which would be the better outcome, and you pull 2 different cards. Give me 2 different outcomes. If I go this way, what would be the outcome? What would be the most likely outcome? If I take this route, what would be the most likely outcome? And then pull a card for each for each, and then see which card it has the see what the result of that card is. That's how I would recommend doing a yes or no. It's really about the outcome. If you choose yes, and the outcome if you choose no, versus this card means yes and this card means no. Does that make sense? Let me know if that makes sense. Let me see, scrolling back down here. So, oh yeah, some more on the cards. You saw abundance. Let me pull that card back out. Right? So you saw abundance, goddess, wisdom. Hey, Vanessa. So, you know, so this is the pentacle suit, like I was mentioning, right? With this, if this was paired with some other cards, you might take those same keywords and have a different experience. So imagine, like with the yes or no, with the yes or no question, if this card came up, then when it comes to it's like, okay, well, if you get this card and you're looking for a yes or no question, it's like, well, how will you know if this is yes? Right? You're just like, okay, it depends on the question and how that would be articulated. You're just like, well, it's like, well, is this a yes? Like, okay, if my question is, you know, should I travel next year? Or should I move to another country? Would this be a clear yes for you? Maybe, maybe not. Is this 9 of Pentacles? Yes, this is the 9 of Pentacles. One of my favorite cards out of this particular deck, out of the Morgan Greer Tarot. I love their depiction of the 9 of Pentacles. Now, let me actually grab the 9 of Pentacles from another deck that I have here. And this is the main deck that I use. So some of you that have gotten readings from me, this is the main tarot deck that I use. I'm going to pull that out so you can see the difference, because every tarot deck is different. So that's another thing. Okay. These are both, when it comes to types of tarot decks, and that's a whole nother conversation. This is the Morgan Greer based off of the Rider-Waite system. And this is Rider-Waite as well, but this is the Radiant Rider-Waite. So you can see the back. This is the Morgan Greer. This is Radiant Rider-Waite. And so this, you see, this is the 9 of Pentacles in a different deck. Do you see the difference? And let me know what comes up for you when you see this 9 of Pentacles versus this one. What similarities do you see? What does the mood change for you between the 2 different cards? Because that can very well be the case. So you have a general type of definition, right, of what the 9 of Pentacles can mean, but the mood could be slightly different. The emphasis of what's being shown is different. And can y'all see why I love this 9 of Pentacles over here? Because she is just giving me life. She's giving me life with the melanin. Come on, melanin. Oh my God, I just noticed the pentacles on her necklace, right? And you see even how they showcase the suit. So pentacles is one of the suits of the of tarot. Yes, yes, more regal. Yeah, so you'll definitely see a difference. You'll definitely see a difference. Let's see here. I've always found it interesting how the astrology readers on YouTube that use tarot all end up with the same general message for the month, no matter how many videos I watch. But how? Yeah, back in the day, I used to do energy readings. I used to do energy readings on my YouTube channel with tarot, and there is a lot of astrological influence in tarot. So when it comes to if astrology readers are using tarot for their readings, or they're combining the astrological alignment with tarot, they could be basing it off of, well, first they could be using the astrological alignment for that month, or if they're basing it off of like zodiac signs and they're doing zodiac readings with tarot, then they could be basing it off of the alignment and then using pulling cards to support that. And a lot of times, when it comes to if you're watching different reading different readers and they're having similar messages, sometimes it's just about synchronicity. Sometimes it's just the energy is very similar across. But if they're using whatever's going on with the astrological alignment for that zodiac sign, then a lot of the characteristics are the same, right? So you have some of the textbook stuff, some of the basic meanings of things, and then you have the intuitive influence of how that shows up. So again, that really depends on the reader. And I know for me, when I used to watch different readings, when I was doing readings, then really I channel from an intuitive point of view. I don't look at, what's going on in the alignment. I don't look at anything. I really just channel. So it really depends on it. Again, it depends on the reader. And this is why when it comes to using cards for intuitive development, you can use logic along with your intuition. But if you don't trust your intuition, if you struggle there, and you're not fully sure what your abilities are, or you don't feel strong enough in your abilities to determine that, using tarot cards can help you do that, which I talk about in that podcast episode of my journey with tarot. And you don't have to use tarot, by the way, to do that. That's not like the only way. It's just a tool that you can use. It's a modality, just like there's other modalities, there's other tools that you can use to help enhance or improve or strengthen your intuitive development. So in the same way that we looked at the cards here of like, okay, well, what's the mood of it logically? What is then what comes up for you? What feeling do you get from the card? If this, if she was saying, if you were having a conversation, if she was saying something to you, what would that really be? Connect to the energy of this card and how that could apply to you for today. And I'm telling you now, you can pull the card. You can end up pulling the same card every single day and have a different perspective of that card based on your situation or your question. So like I mentioned with the yes or no, right? If we pulled this card and and I was looking for a yes or no answer of, should I move out of the country next year? And I get this could be a yes. This could be, yes, move, because when you move, you're going to be, you're going to be living lavish and you're going to be comfortable. You're going to be working, you're going to be working. You're going to have abundance. It could be that. It could be. Or what if it's on the other end where, well, maybe where I'm at right now, I'm in this energy of Queen of Pentacles. And it's like, well, if you leave, you know, like this is where you're at now, and you've already created abundance where you're at now, like, and you're actually going to leave that. So you would be moving into an unknown aspect, and that doesn't necessarily, will I still carry on in this Queen of Pentacles energy, or would this be would it be a challenge for me? So just something to kind of keep in mind. And really, and this is where, depending on the person and the question, the energy of the question, and then any other cards that come along with it, could will really determine how that would show up. Nine of Pentacles, she's enjoying the beautiful life she created. Absolutely, absolutely. So if I was talking about wanting to move out of the country and I'm looking for a yes or no, and it's just like, well, this is where you're at now, and moving out the country actually will put you, you know, oh, let's pull, let's get this card right here. People get freaked out by this card. If this was the case, then it's like, oh, well, what if these two cards came together with that same question of yes or no? And it's like, well, if I got these two cards, it could mean that this is where I'm at now, and this is going to leave me in that kind of unknown state. And I'm going to feel restricted, or I'm not going to have all the luxury that I have now. Or it could go the other way. So this is why having more context around your question, whether you are the one getting the reading, don't just go in with a yes or no. And if you're not sure how to phrase your question, that's fine. Then, you know, really the reader, your responsibility, if you, as the reader, would be to help rephrase the question in a way that is most ethical, and that can really produce the best result when it comes to pulling cards and getting that outcome, getting a clear outcome. So yeah, so that's kind of a, you know, and just look at this card, look at the energy of this card. I mean, let's look at this. Let me know what comes up for you. When you see this card, what's the mood of this card? What feelings do you get when you look at this card? What's a key word? What's some keywords or phrases that come up for you when you see this? Let me know in the comments. And, you know, look at that compared to this one. Very different. So we have go in, unknown, stagnant energy. Yep, trapped, stuck, broken. So yeah. So think about how you don't necessarily need the book definition to get some type of feeling of what is coming up in the imagery of the cards. So one of the great things with tarot, especially if you are a visual learner, also if you're clairsentient, right? So if you feel a lot energetically, you're very you're highly sensitive, you pick up on a lot physically, then when you see the imagery, that can really help you. You will feel certain things physically as you look at the imagery. So I feel like when it comes to intuitive development for clairsentience, it can be very helpful, because you can use the imagery and see kind of what feeling. When I talked about the mood, okay, well, what is the mood? How do you feel when this card comes up versus when this card comes up? Feel the difference in your mood, in your body, right? If you're an empath, if you're clairsentient, then you can use the imagery to help feel the difference. It's like, okay, ooh, when I see this card, it's giving me this feeling versus this feeling. So that's how you can use the cards for that particular aspect of developing your intuitive abilities if you're clairsentient or if you're an empath. Now, let me see some other ones here. We have stagnant energy, trapped, empowered versus anxious. Ooh, that's good. So yeah, and think about how that would feel when you feel empowered versus feeling anxious. So if you're an empath or clairsentient, then you can start looking at how not only is the imagery giving you this feeling, you might start seeing a pattern in the layout of the cards where it's like, okay, this is these two cards together. Maybe you're feeling like, okay, you're wanting to feel this sense of empowerment, but right now it's being where you're wanting to be versus where you are, it's being overshadowed by this sense of anxiousness because you're nervous about this unknown journey or whatever. Do you see what I'm saying? So that's how you can tap into that and exercise that ability. So I mentioned I'm a personal trainer, right? And I take that aspect of the physical and training the physical body, and I do that with the intuitive, non-physical body. That's literally what I do. And you can do that. That's what intuitive development is for me. And so that's where this is a great benefit. Eight of Swords, you need to use your intuition more and logic less to move forward. Yes, I love that, Anita. Love that. And a lot of times, I mean, think about how relevant this is to the topic today, because a lot of people get stuck with they want to strengthen their intuition, they want to develop themselves more, they want to connect more, but they get too caught up in the mind. And the Swords, which is another suit, which is connected to the air element, which is connected to the mind, and really getting caught up in that. And that's part of the reason why I was doing this topic today, why I was inspired to talk about using tarot cards. It's like, let's talk about this because people aren't talking about this. It's like the snakes and arrows game. Yes. The levels of self-knowledge. Absolutely. Love it. So another way that you can use tarot for intuitive development, if you are, if you're a visual learner, if you're using the visual aspect of the cards, right? So we talked about how you can use the visuals to tap in to that physical feeling. So if you're an empath, if you're clairsentient, and we all have this, that is our most primal response. Okay. Our most primal response is that gut feeling, that gut reaction, we all have that. Some more than others, but that's something we all definitely have. We all have our different strengths, but that's why I would, recommend definitely using that, because that's something that you do anyway, whether you consciously realize it or not. And when you start tuning into your body more, into how your body will tell you the truth all the time. Your body will tell you the truth. We just be ignoring it. And that's why my mission is aligning the mind, the body, and the spirit through these practices, because it all works together. Yeah, you're more of a visual person. Yeah, and I feel like the visuals, especially when it comes to, let me find the same card in this other deck. Because you can really get a lot from the imagery. And you can find a deck that really resonates with you. A lot of people get stuck there, which we'll talk about that more. So let's look at the difference between, here we go, the Eight of Swords in the Morgan Greer versus Eight of Swords in the Radiant Rider-Waite. So think about these two. Look at the mood of these two cards. You might get some similar things, but then you might see some different things. So depending on the deck that you use, certain things might stick out more than the other. And this is why, you know, when it comes to the deck that speaks to you more, whatever you feel drawn to more, why the imagery can be a very important aspect of how you use the cards. So just look at the difference. And is there anything that you notice or that sticks out to you more in one card versus the other? Like, for example, for me, what really sticks out is the red. The red gown in the Morgan Greer versus in the Radiant is kind of like this orangish type of thing. So, and then there's more water here in this card. So, you know, some of the aspects here will stick out to me differently compared to this card. So I definitely feel like there's more, the water is definitely drawing me to, like, there's the aspect of being too caught up in the mind, but also, you know, when it comes to the emotions that are driving this kind of over analyzing and being caught up. So, and now this is going back to, we're using kind of our logic here and how that can show up. And then you connect to the feeling of, okay, well, I'm feeling this scent. This is the feeling I get from this card. And here are some of the things that really stick out to me. That's where that visual part. So if you're a visual learner, depending on the deck, and if you have a couple of decks, then you can see, looking at the different cards, like what really sticks out to you in the different cards. River water and how her shoulders seem more tense. Yep. Very much more tense there. Will you be getting into numerology of tarot and the symbology of colors in the private group? Yes, we'll be doing a deep dive. We'll be talking about numerology. We'll talk about astrology. We're definitely going to be talking about the symbols of the deck, and we'll be primarily using Rider-Waite, and we'll be talking about that in oracle cards too. So for those of you, if you're just tuning in, I'm right now doing a pre-launch for my tarot mentorship group, the Tarot Mentorship Circle, which is called the Tarot Table Talk. And I'm doing a pre-launch. And if you sign up for the wait list, you get access to early bird pricing. And that early bird access ends on the 21st of August. So if you are interested in learning more, then be sure to click the link in the description to join the Tarot Mentorship Circle. And yeah, just stay tuned. You can also go to my website, wadjet.com. One looks like she's moving forward and the worst is behind. Yes. The other side, she looks stuck or surrounded and confused about how to get out. I love that. So you see how, oh, I see what you mean there because of the different backgrounds. I love that, Aja. So you see how, depending on the card, depending on the deck and the mood of the deck, you can pull the same card in a different deck, but certain things will stick out to you a little bit more. So how you see it and when what shows up to you might be a bit different. Love that, Aja. The water, yes, the water sticks out. So it's interesting. And this is why, you know, y'all listen, I'm telling you, one of the reasons why I finally decided to do this tarot mentorship circle is because I'm a tarot geek. Okay. Such a problem. I have so many decks. It's really a thing. And I need a reason and a way to just talk about them all the time. Okay, that's really what this is about. It's a great way. So you see how this can really strengthen when it comes to the visual aspect of tarot and really looking beyond. This is about looking beyond the definitions of the cards, using the imagery, listening to your body and how your body is feeling when it comes to the mood of the cards, and then also the connections of the cards. So when we put those two cards together, So what we did was we looked at the mood of the card individually. We started with the Queen of Pentacles, and then we did the mood of the Eight of Swords, right? And we compared the different cards, and now and just look at the energy depending on the deck and how you can have the textbook definition, and different decks might have a different emphasis on like the key words. But what's most important is how you define it and how that's going to show up for you in the cards that you pull. So you see how that can be, you can have the same two cards, two different decks, but slightly different mood or different emphasis or something that would really show up more on in one set of cards versus the other. And I really love using this kind of comparing and contrasting to really get a feel, to really help you get a feel for what shows up for you versus what you feel like it should be, because that's what the book says. Does that make sense? Because that's just what, it's like, well, because this is a pentacle and this is this and that is that. It's like, no, let's look deeper than that and really connect to what you're feeling, really connect to the, even what you're hearing. So if you're clairaudient, you can really look at these cards, study the imagery of the card, and then listen to what starts to come up for you. So if any of you are clairaudient, I am also, I'm clairaudient. I'm all the clairs. The inner hearing, the clairsentience, all of it, right? Wherever your strength is, just take a moment just to really listen as you look at the imagery. So for those of you that are clairaudient, then listen to what comes up for you as you are viewing the imagery. Don't try to think about it. Just try to receive whatever those messages are for you. And that's the way that you can practice if you're clairaudient. Or if you're wanting to strengthen that intuitive ability. So it's really about, it's almost an aspect of journeying where you're just kind of just soaking yourself into the imagery of the cards and listening to what that story is. Not listening from the mind, but listening through the spirit, which is very different of what you hear when you're clairaudient versus you just being in your ego mind. It's very different. And you will feel that in your body as well. And I talk about how to tune into your, are you in tune with your body? I think about that. I think that's episode 11 of the podcast. So for those of you just tuning in, be sure to check out my podcast, Fit Body, Fit Spirit. And you can get some amazing insight. I have a new episode every Thursday. A new episode dropped today, so be sure to check that out. And definitely talk about a lot of these topics. So let me know if you have any questions before we get ready to conclude. So some of the main things that I talked about when it comes to using tarot, we kind of talked about just general aspects of tarot and the general structure of tarot. I also talked about how you can use tarot, the imagery of tarot, for the comparing and the contrasting of decks, and how we talked about the mood. What is the mood of the card that you're viewing, and how you can use keywords versus just depending solely on what the book definition is. And there's nothing wrong with that. You have the logical aspect of using tarot, but then you want to use your own intuition, right? So that's where the mood that comes up for you and the keywords come up for you. So we talked about that. We also talked about using how you can use tarot to strengthen your abilities as an empath, or if you are clairsentient, you can use, or if you want to strengthen that within yourself, how you can use tarot for that. And then also, when it comes to being clairaudient, how you can use the decks to really use the cards to listen to the conversations, listen to the messages that you're receiving through spirit, not through the mind. And then if you're a visual, so for me, I'm also clairvoyant, right? So one of the great things about being clairvoyant, I use, so when you're clairvoyant, like for me, I have the imagery, but then also for me, I see things, right? So I'm seeing things happening. Sometimes it's like a movie playing, sometimes it's like different images. So when you're looking at these cards, there might be certain other images or things that come up for you. And then you can, depending on who you're reading for, if you're reading for yourself, then what are some of the symbols that really stick out? So you might start to see things within your mind's eye, or something might really you might start to really zoom in on one particular aspect of the card. So, for example, we did a compare and contrast of these two cards. And I was asking, like, what is something that sticks out? What's the difference between, what differences do you see between the two cards, right? If you're clairvoyant and you're just looking at one card, and say if you're just pulling a card for yourself, there might be this mountain in the back might show up really bright for you, right? It might really start to stick out to you. And it's like, all this other stuff is happening, but you keep focusing there. So really pay attention to what you are visually drawn to and what you keep getting drawn to, what keeps jumping out of the card at you. That's how you can use this to help strengthen your clairvoyance, because it kind of shows up the same way, whether sometimes it's you looking at an actual image and you're seeing different things jump out specifically. However it shows up for you, it might flash, it might just keep drawing you to that image. It might get brighter. So it depends on your how your clairvoyance is expressed. But that's a way for the visual aspect, how that can show up for you. And then from there, you can start to take that to see what other visual messages come up for you, if you're clairvoyant. And again, these are things I'll definitely be talking about more and going more in depth with those of you that decide to join the tarot table talk, which is the mentorship circle that really is going to be focusing on using your intuitive abilities, and learning and going more in depth with tarot and oracle cards, to help you be the best version of you. So you can do your own readings, whether it's for yourself, whether you want to read professionally, wherever you want to be at. If you just want it to be a personal journey, which is what I recommend, that's where it started with for me. Tarot's it still is a very personal journey for me. Then it might be a great option for you. So I don't see any questions. Let me see. I'm going to be coming back on here again next week. I'll be doing this tarot series let me just look at the date. I'm looking for the date. Yeah, I'll be back here again next Thursday. Same bat time, same bat channel. And yeah, so stay tuned for the topic. And if you're interested in wanting to learn more about me or what I'm up to, or more about Tarot Table Talk, be sure to head on over to my website, wadjet.com, and you can click on, there's a Tarot Table Talk tab. That's a lot of T's right there. You can click on that. You can also click on the link in the description to join the waitlist and get access 2 early bird pricing, and additional details about what to expect for the membership, the mentorship circle. Other than that, thank you for tuning in, and I will see you all next Thursday at 7 p.m. Central Time for some more talk about tarot. All right, I will see you all on the next one.